Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Maddie and I'm so excited that you are here. Today we are reading Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson. If y'all recall, there's a video on my channel of me reading the first book in this series. It's called The Stormlight Archive and I read The Way of Kings and y'all seem to really enjoy it. So today we're going to be reading Oathbringer. I'm starting it today, we'll see how far I get into it, but I'm honestly just gonna jump in blindly. I want to kind of refresh myself on Words of Radiance as I read this book. Words of Radiance is the second book in the series and this is the third. I didn't end up making a video about Words of Radiance. I was so focused on reading it. I really tried to make a video, but it really just didn't work out. It was really messy, sloppy, and I just didn't like it. So I didn't post a video about that book and I'm really sorry because I know a lot of people's favorite book in the series is Words of Radiance, but I am hoping y'all enjoy watching me read Oathbringer and get through this. If y'all saw one of my last videos, I did a little reading day in my life, sort of like bookish Monday reset, and I finished Edge Dancer in that video. So today we are starting Oathbringer. So let's just jump right in and start reading. The artwork in these books has me in a chokehold. Look how stinking beautiful. All right, y'all, starting with the prologue, let's go ahead and jump right in. Also, by the way, this is going to be a video full of spoilers. So if you haven't read the first two books, then I would definitely not watch this video. But if you don't think you're going to be reading the series and you're just kind of interested in hearing about the series, then I would definitely continue watching this video. Just be aware of the spoilers. So the book starts off with Ashonai. This is 6 years ago. We pretty much learned who she was and who she is in Words of Radiance. She's kind of talking about her first experience meeting the humans 6 years ago and just the moment when she realized that the Parshmen that humans basically own, or are their slaves if y'all remember from the Way of Kings video, she recognizes that they are listeners, but she realizes that the humans own them. And obviously to her, since she is a listener, that is wrong. So interested to see how she realizes that the humans are basically their enemy, which was a big theme in Words of Radiance. Okay, y'all, so the prologue opens up 6 years ago when Gavilar is still alive. Basically, we learn that Gavriel had been experimenting with Fabrials and believed that an ancient powerful spren was responsible for the transformation of Parshendi into Parshmen. So basically from people into slaves. He confides in Ashonai that he wants to bring back their gods, but Ashonai and her people have gone through a lot to escape their gods. So essentially Ashonai and the Five, which are the 5 major listeners, they basically plan to assassinate Dalinar using the white assassin who is Clade, one of the 5's Parshmen. Gavilar is assassinated in this prologue and we learn that it was due to the listeners' plan, which very fascinating. We never really knew why the white assassin assassinated Gavilar, and so that's kind of what we're learning right now. But yeah, so now we are on chapter 1. Little recap from Words of Radiance. Dalinar is now a Knights Radiant and he has bonded the Stormfather himself, which was a big theme in Words of Radiance and The Way of Kings. Big update about Dalinar. I'm interested to see where that takes him and basically what their plan is for refounding the Knights Radiant. So Okay, little floor update for you guys. Just wanted to remind y'all of something to kind of help y'all understand the overarching plot. If you've already read the series and you're watching this, then you will obviously know this because this is like the main plot line of the Stormlight Archive so far. Basically, Dalinar is tasked with refounding the Knights Radiant, which are a group of people who are insanely powerful, have all sorts of abilities, and in doing this, he will be able to fight the enemy that is to come. And we thought originally that that is the like ultimate high storm, which already happened. We are kind of finding out that it is something greater. The desolation has been awakened, and heralds are supposed to have appeared and helped charge against the Voidbringers, which are these creatures of history that took over the world and doomed mankind. And Dalinar is currently in a vision, and he is talking to the Stormfather when the ground starts to shake, and obviously a storm is coming. So Dalinar requests to stay in the vision and see it for himself. Then a dark figure in black shardplate shows up, and it has 9 shadows, each spreading out in a different direction, and its eyes glowed a brilliant red. And he recognizes that this is the enemy's champion and he is coming. So the last thing that he hears in this vision is unite them quickly. So this is kind of the overarching plot, and this is kind of where Dalinar's story is going. We're seeing a lot from him. We've seen a lot of visions already, but basically his visions are getting more intense. We're learning more and more each time. And now that he has bonded with the Stormfather, who is his friend, he is basically able to revisit these visions on command and kind of pick what happens in the visions, and he is able to directly talk to the Stormfather. So he's one of my favorite characters personally, so I'm excited to see where this takes him. Hello you guys, it's a new day. I'm back reading Oathbringer. I left off on page 60 last night. Getting pretty dang good. We're finding out some good information. Something really sweet that happened is Dalinar and Navani are basically getting married. The wedding officiant is actually the Stormfather himself, which is again Dalinar's friend, which I thought was really, really funny. I don't think there's any new crazy information that I read last night. Random, but another important thing I totally forgot to include is that all of the men in Bridge 4, which y'all remember from the first book, are basically on their way to becoming Radiants. And I guess I didn't remember this from Words of Radiance because when they mentioned it in here, I was actually floored. Kaladin is the one teaching them basically how to use their abilities because he's gotten so much stronger and more powerful. But I'm really excited to see how their journey goes as being Radiants, just because those characters are some of my most favorite characters and they're so special to me. But if y'all remember in the last book, Moshe actually betrayed the Bridge 4 men, so he's not currently in the group of the Bridge 4 men that are becoming Radiants, which makes me sad because I really, really did like him. Okay, y'all, just made it to page 96. There was a solid chapter where Kaladin went home and visited his family, and it was just so wholesome to see. He also has a new little brother that was just born, and I thought that that was just so wholesome. And just seeing that more kitty side from Kaladin really just like made my heart so happy. Also in Words of Radiance, we learned that Roshon, the city lord of Hearthstone, where Kaladin is from, was involved in the murdering of Moshe's grandparents. Kaladin kind of felt like he had a score to settle, but we really just saw growth from him because he just punched him in the face and then decided, hey, I'm a bigger man than this and I'm not gonna do any more than that. And I just thought it was really cool to see that character development in Kaladin. Now Kaladin has learned that after the Everstorm hit Hearthstone, the Parshmen basically turned into Voidbringers and they left. And so Kaladin is now trying to discover where they went, what their role in the war is, and what their goal is. Anyways, that's a little update. I'm gonna go ahead and eat some lunch, and then I'm gonna keep reading and I'll update you guys some more as I keep going. Hey y'all, brief update on how the book is going. I just made it to page 130. A couple things we've learned. First off, my most favorite is that Renarin is actually able to heal, and this is part of his abilities as an upcoming Radiant. If you do not recall, Renarin is the son of Dalinar and the brother of Adolin. So I thought that that was really interesting and such just like a handy ability to have in your arsenal. Another thing is another person has been murdered. Sadis was murdered by Adolin in the last book, and then another person was was found murdered in the exact same position in the exact same way. So I feel like there's definitely some turmoil going on in Urithiru, which is where all of the Radiants and all the main characters are staying right now. It's this big fortress city sort of thing. But anyway, so I feel like there's definitely some turmoil happening in Urithiru, and maybe some groups of people that are trying to pin Dalinar against a certain group of people or whatever. So I feel like this is definitely just like a whole setup situation, which I thought was interesting. And Adolin has been tasked to figure out who is performing these murders, which is really funny because he murdered Saudis. I think I've been saying it Sadie's in the past, but I think it is Saudis. Correct me if I'm wrong. Those are just a couple of little updates so far in the book. I'm on page 130, like I said. I think I'm gonna try to keep reading for the rest of the day, or at least some. Hello everybody, I'm back for another day of filming. I'm currently on page 224, so I've gotten a good way through the beginning of this book. I have a couple updates on my phone just from what I read yesterday. First off, Shallan and Adolin are closer. They had a cute little like date moment where he came in, was bringing books just to sort of help her learn about some kingdoms that she doesn't really know about, and I just thought that little moment was so cute. I love the little moments between them just because I feel like they are just getting closer and there's more happening in their story. I'm so excited for the moment when they hopefully get married. Another thing is that Dalinar has remembered his wife's name, and her name is Evie. He actually has never been able to remember anything about his wife, and I never really knew why. It was definitely like a little hole that I was always kind of confused about. But so he has a duel with one of his ardents who basically trains the soldiers, and he declares that the Almighty is dead. Just because something is old doesn't mean that it is applicable to the current world, and he remembers his wife's name after that. Then Kaladin chased after the Parshmen after his visit to Hearthstone, which is his hometown, and he got caught by the Parshmen there. He released himself. Now he is teaching them how to survive, which obviously conflicts with the current belief that the Parshmen are the Voidbringers. He's trying to figure out what changes them into Voidbringers, why some are and why some are not. And these people really are just like regular people. They've remembered who they are, they've remembered their place in society, they've remembered their personalities, and they're really just like regular humans, but they don't look like humans. So he's kind of having this battle in his head of why should we kill these people when they are literally just like humans? They're just like us, but they're not Voidbringers. So he's kind of trying to figure out what's going on with that. There's nothing evil about them. They're literally just runaway slaves. So I thought that was very interesting, why some are Voidbringers and they have the glowing eyes and they're very evil, and why some are not. So Shallan is also currently struggling with the death of her parents. If y'all don't remember, she killed both of her parents. She killed her mother and her father, and now because of that she hates her sword, her shard blade, because that's what she used to do it. And she's kind of like taking on different personas to heal, because obviously Shallan's ability is to create a new image of herself. She draws different images of people in her sketchbook and she's able to take on those forms. So she's kind of doing that to heal and to be able to use her shard blade, which breaks my heart because Pattern is obviously her spren, and he has asked her many questions like, do you hate me? Why do you hate me? And things like that, and it just makes me so sad for him. Another thing is Dalinar is currently trying to reach out to all the kingdoms and unite them under him. Elhokar has basically declared Dalinar as the ruling king, kind of like a higher king. That's kind of where the plotline is going right now. We're trying to unite all these kingdoms to basically ultimately defeat the enemy, which we have discovered is Odium. He is the ultimate enemy. We don't really know much about him, but we do know that he is going to bring a champion, and they're going to try to convince him to bring his champion into a duel. But that's kind of where I'm following so far.
Hello everybody, bit of an update. It's currently 3:14. I'm on page 294, so I'm getting pretty far through the book. A couple of things we've learned so far. Again, I'm back to my notes. Basically, we figured out that Mraize, the leader of the Ghost Bloods, who Shallan is actually a member of, if y'all remember from Words of Radiance, he is working with Sadi's wife. I don't remember how to say her name, but basically they're working together, and a lot of the main characters like Dalinar and Adolin and Shallan are kind of suspicious of her. We've also learned that a spren of Odium, which is like the main enemy, which I was saying earlier, is possibly present in Urithiru, and Mraize had a private conversation with Shallan, basically telling her that he has tasked her with investigating the darkness inside of Urithiru. Something suspicious is going on, and again, we think that it might be a spren of Odium. However, Tar Van Gian, I don't know how to say his name, one of the kings from one of the other kingdoms, is basically at Urithiru talking with Dalinar, talking about joining forces, and he brings a radiant with him. I think that her spren is actually the one that's performing some of the murders that are happening in Urithiru. There have been some murders happening, and every time a murder happens, another one happens later that is basically like performed in the same way. Very, very similar. So I think that this spren of his radiant is causing these second murders. And the reason I think that is because we have found out that his radiant is of the order of Dustbringers, and it is said that Dustbringers like to take things apart and see what is inside. And another encounter that happened was Shallan was basically performing this play for Pattern and using her abilities to create this play in this theater that she found that is way far away from any civilization. And she's performing this play, and she is seeing people in the audience that she has also created. However, after she finishes the play and after the vision goes away, a figure gets up and leaves. So she follows it, and she finds this little strange creature that is kind of humanoid but looks like a spren of darkness essentially. And she saw it after this new radiant arrived, so I'm kind of connecting those dots. I don't know if that's actually what's happening. It could be totally different, but that's kind of where my thought process is going. Also, another thing we found out is the Stormfather can show more than one person a vision, and Dalinar plans to use this to speak to some of the other kingdoms because a lot of them are very unreceptive to his idea of coming together and forming a united kingdom. There's a lot of fun things happening. I feel like I cannot stop reading. This book is so stinking good. I didn't think anything could be Words of Radiance, but I really, really like where this book is going, so. Hello everyone, it's the next day. I'm back for another update. I'm currently on page 426. I have so many updates for you guys, so let's just get into it. First up, Shallan went back to the market to study a new death and track down the strange spren, which I was talking about in some of the last clips, which led to a massive archive underneath Urithiru of decayed books and research. She discovered the spren is Re-Shapir, or the Midnight Mother, an unmade, which is a powerful spren connected to Odium. Shallan realizes it is afraid of her power in being trapped by it, and eventually Shallan touches her safe hand to it and it retreats. She discovers it was hiding a treasure of thousands of cut gemstones. Then Kaladin follows the Parshmen to Revelar, a city that has been taken over by Parshmen. Some Parshendi are in Voidbringer form with the glowing eyes, and Kaladin is conflicted by this. He engages them, saving the trapped humans from a nearby high storm, and suddenly he is able to deflect the winds around him using his power. He leaves and lands back at Urithiru, and Jasnah arrives, which so freaking exciting because Jasnah is one of my favorite characters, and I was absolutely devastated when she died. However, she's alive and well, and she is back in Urithiru. Then Rock reunites with his family after seeing smoke in the distance while on the Shattered Plains. He sent them word via Spanreed, and they traveled all the way to the plains. Dalinar discovers in a vision that during the original desolation, men fought with the Voidbringers. The stories of the last desolation claim that the enemy was defeated by the heralds for good. However, a vision shows Dalinar this is not true. And this part is extremely important. I feel like we've learned so much in the last 100 or so pages. The Everstorm basically is bringing spren of angry Parshmen who are long dead but have been given great power by Odium. This is what is transforming the Parshmen into Voidbringers, or fused. Even when they died, they were reborn. So 10 people, 5 male and 5 female, gave themselves up to create the Oath Pact. The heralds sealed the spren of the dead into damnation, went to Honor, who gave them the Oath Pact. However, Honor was wrong. And Honor is like the basically the opposite of odium. Spren and gods cannot break their oaths, but men can and will. So the 10 heralds were sealed into damnation, trapping the Voidbringers. However, one of the 10 bent his oath, basically being tortured while in damnation, and let Voidbringers pass, allowing all to return. This is what caused the desolation, and this cycle has repeated many times. The last time, all of the heralds stayed, except one who has been in agony for 4,500 years. He finally broke and now has joined the 9 in the human realm. The Oath Pact has been weakened, and Odium has created a storm. Each time a Voidbringer dies, it is reborn in the next Everstorm. So this is a big deal and not good, because basically no matter how many times they kill the Voidbringers, they are going to be able to come back in the next Everstorm, which have been repeating themselves every 9 days. Shallan completed her task in finding the Unmade and has been given a letter from the Ghost Bloods, giving her information about her brother Non-Halaran. We learn in this letter that Gavilar was a member of the Sons of Honor, working to return the desolations and finding the heralds, restoring the Knights Radiant and the strength of the Vorin Church. This was likely why Gavilar was assassinated. Non was a member of the Skybreakers, led by Nael, who is a herald. The Skybreakers are the only order of Radiance that did not betray its oaths during the Recreants. The heralds are no longer allies of men, and Nael has spent the last 2 decades dealing with anyone close to bonding a Spren. Some were turned to Skybreakers, others were eliminated. If they were already bonded, they were eliminated. In this, he was trying to prevent the return of the Voidbringers, and Halaran was a minion to eliminate these people. Halaran was sent to kill Amaram as a test to strike against the Sons of Honor, whom Amaram was a member of. I feel like I've just been bombarded with information. It's getting so freaking good. But yeah, I mean, this book is just flying by so quickly. I love it so much. It's so stinking good. I feel like I'm really starting to figure out things that I've always wondered in the series. Y'all, Dalinar is showing his visions to the Emperor of Azir. In Edge Dancer, Gox, who is Lif's friend, became the Emperor of Azir, and now Lif is also in this vision. I just got so excited. Oh my gosh, I love her so much. I can't wait for her to like become a bigger part of the story. Like, I love her so much. It's so cool. Okay, this is interesting. So Dalinar is able to talk to the Stormfather in his visions, and Lift was able to enter in the vision by her own will and then leave with the Emperor, Gox. It says, the Stormfather rumbled in frustration. That woman, this is a creation specifically meant to defy my will. Woman, Dalinar asked, shaking his head. That child is tainted by the Night Watcher. I don't know what that means, but seems very interesting considering the Night Watcher is where Dalinar went after Evie, his past wife, was kidnapped. He went there and made a deal with the Night Watcher and then lost his memories of his wife. At least I think that's what happened. So I don't know what the connection is. Also, there have been hints in Edge Dancer that Lift went to visit the Night Watcher and made a deal with her. I mean, I don't really know, but that's kind of what it made me believe. Little update, I just made it to chapter 45. I'm on page 459. I'm gonna take a break for now. I started on 370 today, so about 90 pages I've read so far, so doing pretty good. I'm gonna stop for just a little bit, take a break, have some lunch and stuff like that, and then I have work at 4. It's currently 1:30, so I'll probably read again before work, but just a little update for you guys. Hello everybody, it's a new day. I have some updates for you guys. I've been reading my absolute butt off. I literally cannot stop reading this book. It is so stinking good. It's crazy. Updates for y'all. I have a lot again. Basically, Renarin has offhandedly discovered fabrials in drawers that came out of the walls in the library of Uruthuru, and Navani believes that they are how the ancient Radiants decided to pass on their knowledge and discoveries. So very exciting.
writing, we thought that all of the knowledge that Yasna was searching for in her search of Urithiru was lost, but we've actually discovered that there is possibly a lot of information stored in these fabrials, so super cool. I'm interested to see where that goes and what they find out. Other members of the crew Moshe was working with when he betrayed Kaladin by planning to kill Elhokar the king are killed by Parshmen who take Moshe into custody, and then they travel to a city outside of Kholinar where they plan their siege of the city, which is a big deal because this is the kingdom of Elhokar. This is where he reigns, and he is planning to take back his control over the city. Moshe has settled into a sort of life with them, knowing he will be one of the crew members in charge of placing the ladders over the city's walls and that he will most likely be killed. He is now teaching his fellow Parshmen friends how to wield a sword. This was stuff that I learned last night while I was reading before bed, and then this morning we've learned several things. The Almighty and honor are the same thing, which I've never fully actually grasped. Then Dalinar brings Navani and Yasna as well as Gox, the Emperor of Azir, into a vision which continues only for Dalinar after it usually ends. This vision is of the Recreants. When the Radiants abandon their blades, Odium appears and wants to speak to Dalinar, which is crazy, y'all. My jaw was on the floor when I read this. Odium reveals that there are 3 gods: honor, odium, and cultivation. There are more, but only 3 are relevant to Dalinar. Dalinar is capable of releasing Odium due to his holding the remnants of honor's power, but if that occurred, Odium would kill cultivation, which obviously would be bad. Odium is the soul of the Spren and men, or emotion incarnate. He claims to be good. Apparently, Dalinar has met cultivation, but she has robbed him of that memory. Then Lift appears as well and speaks to Dalinar. Then Tarvangian sent his assassin in white to kill Dalinar in Words of Radiance. However, obviously he did not succeed. Tarvangian struggles with having highly increased intelligence only on rare occasions and is studying a book called the Diagram, which is a jumble of texts that don't make sense. So Tarvangian is interpreting this book where he was told to kill Dalinar in the past. Tarvangian knows of Odium and has decided his new goal is to let Dalinar unite the kingdoms and eventually take over his power. While visiting Queen Fen and seeing her broken city, Dalinar leans against a temple, hearing the screams of thousands of Spren which made up the temple. He listens and restores it using his new ability as a bondsmith. Y'all, I feel like in this book, like, I'm learning so much more about like the mechanics of how this world works, and I can't decide if I like it more than Words of Radiance. I feel like Words of Radiance there was a lot more like war and battle and crazy events happening, but I didn't learn as much as I wanted to, and I didn't learn the things that I was truly curious about. Like, I did, but not to the extent that I was hoping for. And I feel like in this book I've learned so much more about what's going on with the gods, about their role, about the role of the heralds and the Knights Radiant, and those were all things that I was really searching for in Words of Radiance. And yes, I did get a lot of that, but I didn't get as much as I wanted. So in this book we're getting all of that, which I really appreciate, and I love it so much. I cannot stop reading it. I'm currently on page 600. My grandmother is staying with us for the weekend, so I haven't been filming too much today, but definitely gonna film some more. I have work at 4 and it is currently 12:10. I've read about 66 pages so far today. Yesterday I read like so many. I read like 160 or 70. That's about it for now. I'm gonna read a little bit and then I'll meet back up with you guys. Hello everybody, quick update. It's currently 2:56 and I'm on page 640. I went and painted with my grandma and then I read some while I was down there. A couple of updates. Shallan, Kaladin, Elhokar, Adolin, and Shallan's guards and a few members of Bridge 4 have arrived in Kholinar and are now staying with Adolin's tailor. The Spren in the city are abnormal and there seems to be a dark cloud looming over the palace. We think a Spren of Odium has taken over the queen, which I think obviously is an unmade, and Shallan and Kaladin are sent on a mission to bring a letter from Elhokar to the palace
palace, hoping to see how the guards will react. Shallan's alternative personality, Vale, has worked with Shallan's guard in past chapters, and Shallan's kind of struggling with a little bit of an identity crisis, like not really knowing which of her personas she really is, but she has now revealed herself to these guards as both Shallan and Vale using her illusions, which I honestly thought was good progress for her character. Less hiding away, less secrets, things like that. And as we know in this book, Shallan is hiding a lot of secrets. Shallan gets into the palace but is struck down by the humanoid guards. They're not quite human. They look like humans and they act like humans, but they're just kind of, there's something off about them. She escapes and then she heads back to the tailor's house, and then we have learned that there are only 3 bondsmiths possible. So I'm on 640. I have work in like an hour or so. I might just sit and read just a little bit longer, maybe get like through this chapter. That's what's going on so far. I love this book so freaking much. It's just so interesting. Also, another random update is Dalinar, Navani, and all of them have finally gotten Queen Fen to work with them. So all of the kingdoms are slowly becoming more united. We're seeing really good progress with that. So now we are working on getting Gox, the Emperor of Azir, to work with them too. So Fen is kind of planning this out with Dalinar, and that's the current scene that we're in. I really like Queen Fen. I feel like she's very practical. She knows what she wants. I mean, I feel like she's a good character to have. So I'm excited to see more from her. Hello you guys, I have no idea when the last time I updated you guys was, but I'm currently on like 796, so getting super far in the book. Dalinar finally is granted permission to visit Azir, where he gives the Ardens essays from Navani and Yasna. They accept his offer to join forces and state that many other kingdoms will comply due to their close friendship with the city, which is super exciting. Dalinar finally remembers what happened to Evie, but we only got a small snippet. I think this was all like my updates from yesterday, which now I know what happened, but Elhokar devises a new plan to save his wife Asudin, the Queen of Kholinar. He believes she is taken over by an evil spren and held captive by guards turned evil. Shallan encounters Wit in Kholinar, has dinner with him, and learns how to infiltrate the Cult of Moments, a group of people that guard and feast around the Oath Gate, a means of travel between cities every night. So basically their goal is to open all of these Oath Gates with the Radiants, because they're the only ones who are able to do it, and then retake over the city. She also learns that the castle is dominated by the Heart of the Revel, another unmade sent by Odium. I originally suspected that Wit was cultivation based on his dialogue and what Odium explained to Dalinar about cultivation's personality, but now, I mean, I'm kind of realizing that that's like kind of a crazy claim. Stormlight is always giving us crazy new information, so I feel like it's not too far from what could possibly be the truth. Shallan succeeds in getting invited to a Cult of Moments feast, very exciting, and then we get more insight into Dalinar's past. Elhokar has sent him and Sadis to the Rift to smother the rebellion there. They trick Dalinar, who's overcome with bloodlust and vows to destroy the city. He burns the city to the ground, including innocent citizens, and has a final conversation with Tanalan, the High Prince there, who confesses that the hidden safe house that Dalinar burned, aiming to kill the enemy, has been turned into a prison where they kept Evie after she fled Dalinar's camp to plead for surrender and peace. So he realizes that he is responsible for the death of his wife. I mean, I was dying to know what happened to her, so I'm glad we finally know, but I did not realize how sad it would be. After Kaladin joins the wall guard of the city in past chapters, he realizes their leader is a woman. This is back in Kholinar. She carries a shard blade, and after a Voidbringer attack, Kaladin finally confesses to her his true intentions in the city. After Shallan converses with Wit regarding her true self and the things she's gone through, she finds a new confidence and forgiveness in herself, and after this heads back to the tailor shop where they are all staying. Kaladin shows up with the army he was recruited into, bringing Elhokar a new force to infiltrate the castle and bring back the queen and Elhokar's son. Those are all my updates for you guys. I'm so happy that Shallan is finally getting through her past after killing her parents, things like that, so I'm really happy to see a lot of growth from her. She's one of my favorite characters. She will never beat Dalinar for my favorite characters, but she is one of my favorites, so it's exciting to see some change
change from her and some forgiveness in herself, because I feel like she has not granted herself that at all throughout the series after remembering that she killed her parents. Those are my updates. I've been reading a crap ton. I honestly keep forgetting to film because I'm so just like entranced by this book. Like I cannot stop reading it. Going to keep reading a little bit more with you guys, and then I gotta go to work. There are so many chapters in this book. Like the fact that I'm on chapter 83 is crazy. Hello everybody, it is several days later. I have not been filming the past couple days, honestly, just because I've been reading in my jammies, no makeup on, go to work, repeat for the next day. So haven't been filming, but today is my first day off this week. I worked Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Now today's Thursday and this is my day off. I'm currently on page 1082, so I've gotten very, very far into this. I'm almost done. I'm on chapter 115. I cannot stop reading this book. So good. Like I said, averaging around 120-30 pages every day, so I'm just reading like crazy, especially with how big those pages are. That's a lot. Couple updates. Let me grab my phone. Also today I have a Chuck E. Cheese cup with me because I went to Chuck E. Cheese with my boyfriend's little siblings and his family, and it was super fun. I also had a painting class with my grandma this morning, and I started this oil painting of some flowers. I'm exhausted though. I don't know if you can tell, but I am absolutely wiped out, but I'm gonna try my best to read and not fall asleep. So last time I talked to you guys, I talked about how Kaladin, Adolin, basically the whole main group except for Dalinar, including Elhokar the king, all went to Kholinar and they successfully infiltrated the castle. Very exciting. Kaladin, Elhokar, and a small army go deeper into the castle to find the queen and Elhokar's son, where they find that the queen has been influenced by something very evil, obviously an unmade, and we come to find out that there are two unmade in Kholinar. They attempt escape, but Kaladin's past Parshman friends that he met in earlier chapters have also arrived in the castle to fight, and Kaladin is frozen because he does not want to kill them, obviously, as Moshe appears, stabbing and killing Elhokar. And yes, Elhokar does have stormlight to heal himself. However, Moshe does it in a way of not letting him basically regenerate that power. Adolin comes to carry Kaladin out, where they escape to the Oath Gate in the city. The Oath Gate has been transformed by an unmade, and when Shallan tries to activate it, they are all taken to Shadesmar. Eventually, they all arrive at a city of Spren, where Kaladin learns Syl is a princess and has a large bounty on her head because of her escape. They also learn that the city is ran by Fused, which again are the Parshmen that are transformed by the Spren from Odium. Syl reveals herself to an Honor Spren ship, hoping to get passage to Thaylen City to access the Oath Gate there, and they take her into custody. They're trying to use that Oath Gate to get back to the main world because Kaladin had a vision of Dalinar being surrounded by enemies in Thaylen City. We also get some chapters of Sazeth, which was very interesting and honestly very fun. He's working with an order of Skybreakers, which I explained previously in the video. Nin, the Herald of Judgment, takes him under his wing to begin a new order of Skybreakers. The main crew arrives at Thaylen City, where the Oath Gate is guarded by thousands of enemy Spren. Not good. Dalinar is in Thaylen City with all the leaders of his unified kingdoms when information regarding Elhokar giving the throne to Dalinar and Dalinar's visions with Odium and other sensitive topics are released. We learned in previous chapters that this is the work of Tarvangian and his group, who was supposedly working with Graves, the man who convinced Moshe to join their force and kill Elhokar in Words of Radiance. We also learned that the Knights Radiant were the original invaders coming to Roshar after they destroyed their previous home, and Roshar was originally home to Parshmen. Big breakthroughs in the story. We also get a flashback to Dalinar's past of going to the Night Watcher, where he asked to be forgiven for his sins of burning the city that I talked about before, and killing his wife, and she basically removes all memories of Evie from his brain. So that was the price of forgiveness, and him forgetting that he did that, trying to become a new man, was him also forgetting every single thing about her, including her name. Definitely some developments in the story. It's been a little bit slower in the past couple hundred pages just because I feel like we're getting a lot of political
political stuff about Dalinar, which I do love because Dalinar is my favorite character, but I wish there was a little bit less politics in these last couple hundred or so pages, but I know it's about to kick into action, and we're going to have a Brandon Sanderson classic of just everything just going up into flames. Like, it's just gonna be crazy. So I'm excited to get there, but let's keep reading and I will give y'all some more updates and kind of let y'all know how I'm feeling, and hopefully we can finish this book tomorrow or the next. I really want to get it done. Hopefully I don't fall asleep while I'm reading. We'll see. I think this is supposed to represent the Oath Gate to Thaylen City on Shadesmar, where Shallan is trying to activate it to get through to Thaylen City, and I just think this representation is so cool. Like, these big figures, I just love the artwork. I thought that was super cool. Okay, y'all, mini update because it's getting a little bit crazy. Basically what's happened is all those Spren that were basically an army in front of the Oath Gate in Shadesmar have disappeared, and we learn that all of the Parshmen that were going to attack Thaylen City have arrived with the Everstorm, and Odium is there. We have all these crazy huge Spren and mists that Venli is able to see, because if you remember Shonai, that's Venli's sister, and Venli is one of the Parshmen who are obviously evil, and so she's seeing all of these Spren and we're getting to read her point of view, and then suddenly in Shadesmar they all disappear and they're in the physical realm, and they are manifesting as Thunderclass, which are ginormous giants made of like stone, and they have started destroying Thaylen City. They're trying to steal this big ruby that basically is able to hold a stormlight indefinitely. But yeah, Odium's there. I mean, like, everybody's there. It's crazy. But Shallan is activating the Oath Gate in Shadesmar to get to Thaylen City, so we'll see if that works out. But this battle's getting really intense. Also, one of the Unmade is there that are forcing all of the Parshmen into a trance of just wanting to fight and kill. And then also, Odium has found a way to bond the Spren, the evil Spren, to Sadi's army, who was dead, but now Amaram, who we don't like, is now taking the place of Sadi. So getting really, really intense. Hard to keep up with a little bit because I am so exhausted, but gonna keep reading, see how far I can get. Getting more and more intense. I had to take my tank top off, so I'm just in a sportswear. I was burning up. Kaladin is basically fighting against some fused who were guarding the Oath Gate, and Shallan is still trying to get through. Sazeth has arrived with Nin, the Herald, and they are watching the battle unfold in the physical realm. And the Herald has basically told Sazeth that he was trying to prevent the Parshmen from actually getting their homelands back, I think. And then Sazeth was like, well, I should fight them. Do I have a choice? You know, kind of just debating with himself in his head about whether he should join the fight against them or with them. I really hope that he joins the fight in favor of the Kholin family, obviously, because I don't want anyone to die and I don't want the Parshmen to win. So we'll see what happens. I think Odium's main goal is to kill Dalinar right now, and that is not good because y'all know Dalinar is my absolute most favorite character, so. Hey guys, I finished the book the night before last, and before you ask why I look like this, I just had work. I have a double today and I got off early. It's currently 12:32, so I have to go back at 4, but I wanted to give y'all an update, and I know I'm gonna hate this clip after because I probably look really busted. I finished the book. Oh my gosh, I'm currently on to Dawn Shard. I have read 106 pages of this. I'm just like, every time I read a Brandon Sanderson book, like the second I finish it, I'm like, all right, on to the next. Like, there's no other book series that even compares. But yes, I finished the book. So I think the last time I talked to you guys was when the Parshmen were coming to Thaylen City and they were ready to attack. Dalinar basically has a moment where he brings his Way of Kings book, which was the book that Gavilar was studying before his death. Really kind of changed him as a person and the way he lived. So Dalinar brings this book with him. He goes into the main battlefield where Odium is, where Odium has basically brought all of these forces to his side. The Thunderclasts, the Evil Spren, the Parshmen, the Thrill, which was another unmade, and also Amaram. Odium shows up in a physical form and Dalinar goes to confront him, and he is talking to him. Odium basically reveals, he's like, everything that happened at the Rift to your wife, all of the murders that you have committed, that was my influence. He tells Dalinar that. He's trying to claim Dalinar so that Dalinar can join Odium's forces and be his champion. And Dalinar is like, no, that was me. I do not accept that. That was something that I did. I'm gonna take accountability and realize that that was me. That was not you. I do not claim that. And then he has a moment. This was the coolest moment ever. He goes, I am unity. And he unites the physical realm, the cognitive realm, and the spiritual realm. Kaladin, Adolin, Shallan, all of them are in Shadesmar, and so they're unable to get back because the guards of the Oathgate are like, we're not gonna let you through because that goes against what honor has told us to do. That allows them finally to come back to the physical realm. They all are fighting. Amaram is killed by Kaladin. I mean, it is just crazy. And Sazeth joins their side. He basically claims Dalinar as his new, I guess, leader and decides to fight with him. And then Venli, who was Ashonai's sister, which y'all remember from before, has said the first ideal of the Radiance, and so now she's like a Radiant, but she's still on the Parshman side, I guess. We learned that cultivation is a god, which I already knew that, but I was confused because I thought cultivation was going to be like another manifestation on Roshar and was going to be like wit or something, but I think I confused myself. But yeah, so they basically win for the time being. Dalinar is finally free of his pain and suffering from what he did. He finally is taking accountability and is learning that suffering is good and that he wants to get through this on his own. Yeah, I mean, the book, the ending was insane. Kaladin has yet to say his next ideal, which will make him more powerful, but I think hopefully that will happen in Rhythm of War, and I'm very excited for that. Adolin also had a conversation with Shallan after this big war and was like, you can have Kaladin. I know how you look at him. Like, I can see that. You can have him. And Shallan's like, no, that was veiled. That was not me. I want you. They get married. It is so sweet. It was so good. It was so good. Everything was just so wholesome at the end. It was just so sweet. Teft also he's one of the Bridge Foremen, and he's now Radiant. He has cast aside his addiction to moss, which is a drug, but he's taken accountability for that. So we're seeing a lot of growth from these characters at the end, which is so amazing, so incredible to watch, just because I love them so much and I really wanted that for them, and it was amazing to finally see that. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything else that was significant. If there was, you're gonna have to read the book because it was amazing. It was everything I could ever dream of. I can't compare it to Words of Radiance because Words of Radiance was so much more action-packed and adventurous and just so much more of like one storyline, I guess, in my opinion. And then Oathbringer was a lot of different things kind of coming together into this growth of all these characters, and I just really felt like that's what I was looking for. So I don't know if I can even compare the two, but Oathbringer was definitely one of my favorite books I've ever read. Oathbringer was fabulous. It was everything I could have ever dreamed of, and I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed watching this experience of me reading Oathbringer for the first time. That series is just so close to my heart and I'll never get over it. But yeah, I'm reading Dawn Shard. I'm really excited to finish this and move on to Rhythm of War. I will probably make a video of that one as well. So I hope y'all enjoyed again. I love you guys so very much. Thank you for watching, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.